Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience live on Mayo Media Network and streaming on X. Share it around if you're joining us on either of those platforms. Coming up today, Davis kicking things off with NFL, best ball, DraftKings picks, maybe some props. Then we got Dubs Anderson talking about golf and maybe the LIV TV deal along with some second round plays. And you can find some second round underdog plays for PGA up at the PME right now, even with a Taylor Fade link to get you in there. And then finally kicking it off last is Jon Kelly from Underdog to talk about UFC 311, I think it is. Davis, you're a big UFC guy, right? Look at you. You're the demo.
No, I literally don't watch. It just feels like there's a kind of big knowledge gap to be better than the projections. And if I'm going to focus on something that's more theory based, I like the golf stuff better anyway. So maybe that makes me less of a man, Pat.
Well, it does seem like people are pretty divided into one of two camps on this as their like auxiliary sport. They either like PGA or they like MMA. There's very few intersections of those, except for Brick, probably.
Brick likes both. I think a lot of people in DFS just acknowledge golf is really hard, and it feels like the field is worse at MMA. But that's also because the way I understand it is there is the field does not play particularly good because the projections aren't that good for MMA, and often Vegas lines, which is what all the projections are created from, are not very good. Like market-based projections are not very good for MMA, the way I understand it.
So, Mayo, we'll try to do that with NFL to try to figure things out. I'll be using the optimal from runthesims.com/Mayo. Get you a discount over there if you want to go do that right now. And code Mayo at Underdog will get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 plus a free pick in the Pick'em game. But Davis, you can just draft off the bonus stuff. That's the key to all of this. Use the bonus money to do your best ball drafts and then save the rest of the money for Pick'em.
I mean, look, that's what I've been doing. They I don't know why this is, but they've been doing every Monday in Missouri. They call it Mo Money. There's been a reload deposit bonus. So I've just been loading up every Monday on the Underdog. Pretty nice.
Yeah, you got to take advantage of those bonuses. Like I saw one last weekend. It was if you play an NBA entry, you unlock a 50% boost for the NFL weekend. So I was like, yeah, I'll play this $1 NBA entry, which I didn't know. I just clicked names, pressed it for $1, unlocked my 50% boost, and then hammered the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, that is great advice, is if they do those kind of rollover promos, just do it for a really low limit or just do like a 2-legger or something and then keep it going. But yeah, if they're giving you free equity, no sweat equity or anything like that, I mean, you have to use those tokens.
So before we jump into NFL this weekend, I did want to give a special shout out to Mike Clay, Hollywood Mike Clay, and Rick Wolf. They both got inducted to the Fantasy Sports Writers Association Hall of Fame. Do you have any experience with Mike or Rick? Because I've dealt with them just at different, like various points of my career. I think that people don't realize how influential Rick Wolf has been on us having jobs right now.
I don't know Rick personally, but I have known Mike for a long time, and it's kind of hard to imagine someone more deserving than Mike, who is just in the trenches, man. The guy's a content machine, has the best available free season-long projections. Like if you're someone who doesn't want to pay for, whatever, his free season-long projections, like I start using them when Best Ball Mania launches and stuff, because no one else has their season-long projections up. And they're very good.
Yeah, Rick has worked Rick obviously is a host on Sirius Fantasy XM. I believe he owned Fantasy Alarm. He was doing hiring at Rotor World back in the day as well. Like he has just been involved on the business side of things for like 30 years now, like from the mid 90s on. And I remember the first time that I met him at one of those FSTA conferences. Like you don't realize there are certain people that, especially now, like being so far into this, there's certain and everything. There's so many people, for one thing, who are doing content, getting paid to do content now. And everyone has their niches that they like obviously the footballers being the biggest of everything. And then, it trickles down to like me and you, and then people who have fewer viewers than even you and I do at this point. But it's all kind of, you can draw the through lines back to like 3 or 4 people, like Barry probably being the biggest one to popularize all this stuff, but Rick Wolf from the business end to make sure that people in this business actually made money is one of the biggest influential people in that space. So it's pretty cool to see them both go in.
That is cool. I mean, it's just nice when people who have been doing it for a long, long time get their well-deserved recognition because I mean, there's a lot of guys who do what we do who are in the field of fantasy who like on kind of miss the fantasy boom even. You know what I mean? Like they who never got to see, $1 million to first basketball tournaments and things like that.
Oh, 100%. Or just being around for the rush of when the daily fantasy money first started to pile in from DraftKings and FanDuel and Draft Street and Star Street and
Yeah.
wherever it was in 2015, 2016, 2013. Like that's when people really started to get paid to do this because there was real money flying in. So I thought that was pretty cool. I did want to share one Mike Clay story. I put it on Twitter last night, but just to kind of hammer it down, when we first launched Fantasy Sports Network in 2014, the guy who was running the channel at the time was a big Mike Clay fan. He subbed to PFF Fantasy. Mike was running. He created Pro Football Focus Fantasy and was so influential over there. Him and Ratcliffe were both there at the time. Ratcliffe, obviously, I helped found FTN with. And they brought Mike up to do these in-studio shows with us, with me and him, and he was on some of our other shows too. And they gave me a credit card on the Friday night for the wrap party. They were just like, look, take Mike out and have a good time and bring some people from the office. And I told everyone in the office, I told basically everyone I knew to come out to the bar that night. Hey, it's on Pat. Don't worry about it. So we go out and we just get annihilated at the Dogs Bullocks in Toronto. And like just pounding back like these $6 pitchers of draft beer all night and eating chicken wings. We even ordered like 300 more chicken wings to bring back to my place for the after party. And everyone was just toasted at that point. And I lived with Cody at the time, Cody Saftik of the Dogger Pass podcast, which you should go check out. So there's like 30 people in this little tiny apartment with these Juilliard balcony windows where we didn't actually have a balcony, but you could open it like it was a balcony door. So there's glass on one side, glass on the other side, and we had everything open because we were just smoking inside of the apartment because it was, on the 6th floor, didn't really want to do anything else. And at like 2:00 in the morning, Cody is so fucking wasted. He picks up a tequila bottle from the middle of the room, like backwards, like back to the window, picks it up, turns around and fires it as hard as he can out the window. Now, if he misses by a foot to the left, a foot to the right, it just goes through the glass, not the open window. And he just chucks it out and clears it right through the middle. And we watch it go down across the street where there's a U-Haul. Like there's like 13 U-Hauls because that's where the pickup was. We watch it go down and it's tracking for the windshield of one of these U-Hauls and just boom, hits the windshield, bounces off, doesn't crack anything really hard. We're like, oh, Mike Clay looks at us. He's like, I have to go.
I mean, that's self perseverance right there. Knowing that you don't need to that you don't need to stay in that situation. My God, man, could have been worse. Could have been worse. Bouncing off the window. That is a lucky break for Mr. Saftik.
Yeah, that it is, and the fact that it didn't go through our windows too was probably also another lucky break. That's the sort of Hall of Fame decision making Mike Clay has. He sees that, he's like, you know what, I have to go now. Probably a good move.
You know what? That is honestly great point, Pat. That is the sort of decision making that leads you to being in the Fantasy Sports Hall of Fame.
There it is. I don't know if I'll ever get my spot in there, but it's probably due to decisions like laughing it off and continuing drinking that night.
Correct. Yeah. You got to work on that, buddy.
The other thing I wanted to just quickly shout out, because I don't know when else I'm going to get a chance to talk about, is David Lynch died yesterday. And
yeah,
there are very few, like, you hear a celebrity guy, you're like, hey, I like that guy. Like, then you move on with the rest of your day. I heard you and Drew, it was either you or Drew or you or Leone talking about this the past few weeks on the TakeCast. And there are certain people that are weirdly influential in your creative life. And David Lynch was one of those people for me. And although you probably would not know it, that I host a daily sports gambling show with tremendous amounts of losing picks over and over. And he's probably one of the most creative people ever to make movies. But you don't need, like, do you have much experience with David Lynch, like watching his movies or watching Twin Peaks or whatever it might be?
So weirdly, I don't. I mean, I know that I would love his stuff, but I'm just kind of at a weird age where his big movies were kind of just before me, and neither my parents were really that in to him. So, yeah, no, not. I do the thing I know most about Lynch in my experience is not even watching it, but having read about, because I love Dune. and reading about everything that went on with the 1984 Lynch Dune.
Which is, there was the one movie of his I had not seen. I watched it last year, right after I saw Dune Part 1. I was like, I want to check out the Lynch version of this, just see how whacked out it is. It's insane. Yeah, the fact that it's like a 98-minute movie, and now they're doing the full story, and we're already 2 movies in that are 3 hours long and still not done. This complete story. I can show you how truncated everything was. But there's something about, like, I don't know, just he's making stuff his own way. He doesn't care if anyone really seems to like it or understand it. That there's just something very freeing about that. Like, there are certain people that you can pick from outside of what you do to draw inspiration from, and he was one of those people for me. Just it's the vibe that I always enjoyed about whatever he did, whether I understood it or not. You'd watch the movie, you're like, all right, this is a singular vision. He's doing things how he wants to do it. And I mean, people will talk about like just the term Lynchian and what that means, like a dream state or the vibe of something. But I don't know. There's just something about it. It affected me in a weird way that I didn't expect.
I think everyone kind of has that with celebrities. I mean, David Lynch, the thing I know most about him, actually, David Foster Wallace, who is one of these celebrities to me, wrote one of the chapters of one of his nonfiction books was all about David Lynch and about Dune and Blue Velvet. And yeah, it is just it's sad. It's one of the few guys out there who is actually a one of one, David Lynch.
Yeah, there's going to be no one who can try to really replicate what he was up to. So I mean, I know you haven't smoked in a while, but you can have a cigarette in his honor today.
You know what? I should. I'll have one. I'll have one this weekend at some point. Yeah, Underdog actually is throwing a party. They're doing this, I think, kind of like in big cities across the United States. They're like renting out bars and inviting people who do a bunch of losing pick'ems on their app. And I'll be there on Sunday, so I'll have a cigarette at the Underdog party.
Excellent. The free cig Underdog party. Code Mayo. Get yourself a free cig on top of your deposit bonus.
Can't wait.
There you go. Wait. Yeah, so you got to use my sign up code for that. Anyway, that's how I wanted to start the show, just a little bit. I would recommend if you're doing like a light toe in, the 60 hours required to watch all of Twin Peaks probably isn't it. But if you just want to like smoke a joint and watch Mulholland Drive, go for it, because you'll probably end up watching it on loop over the weekend, trying to make any sense of it. It's the best.
You think Mulholland Drive is the right one to start with, or do you think Blue Velvet is the right one to start with? I've never seen it.
I weirdly think that Mulholland Drive is more accessible, and after you watch it, you'll be like, "What the hell are you talking about? This is the least accessible thing I've ever watched. Probably the most accessible movie he's ever made."
Okay, all right. I will. I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna put that on my menu.
And then you know what? Like a few weeks time, we can come back and talk about it and how crazy it is.
Okay. All right. I will the next time we do a take cast, I will have my full thoughts on as many David Lynch movies as I can see.
There we go. I mean, if you could just watch all of Twin Peaks, that would be perfect, but that might be too big of a lift. Cust and I, some of the lowest rated shows in the history of the Pat Mayo Experience is when Cust and I were doing recaps of Twin Peaks: The Return when that was on and trying to make sense of it in real time. I've watched it back like 3 times. I still don't know what's going on.
Well, because Twin Peaks was originally a movie, correct?
No,
Twin
Peaks was a TV show, and then it was a movie, and then it came back on Showtime 25 years later.
Okay, and that's the one that
Kyle MacLachlan.
Kyle MacLachlan. Yeah. Okay. So you think start with the show, then the movie, then the show returns? Well, I kind of need a show right now.
Well, I mean, just watch Twin Peaks then. Just start with Twin Peaks, the pilot. I think it's on Paramount Plus. I don't know where it would be in the States, but I know in Canada it's on Paramount Plus. It's great. Like, it's an awesome TV show for, let's say, 21 episodes. And then it sucks for like 8 episodes when David Lynch leaves. And then he comes back for like the final part of season 2. And it's great. And then they made a movie afterwards, which is like X-rated and crazy. And then the show comes back on Showtime for like 18 episodes 25 years later.
Okay. All right. This is officially on my list. I'll put it in my notes app. This is going to be on my to-do list.
Well, enough of that. We've spent 15 minutes talking about not football. Let's talk about football. Bills or Ravens? Who you got?
I have the Baltimore Ravens.
Do you worry that everyone you've talked to is picking the Baltimore Ravens?
No, because they are the better team in the betting markets. It's very hard with 2 good teams on the road in the playoffs for the road team to be favored. That is just it's just very uncommon. The Ravens certainly have a better roster. You could argue that Josh is better than Lamar, and I think it'll be tight, but I think the Ravens skill position players are better. The Bills skill position players are not very good, and that is an issue in a playoff game.
It is, but not having Zay Flowers is huge for the Ravens and just what they're able to do in that intermediate passing game range. Like, do you really trust? Come crunch time, you need a first down. It's 3rd and 11. You're running someone by the sticks and you throw it to Nelson Aguilar. You feeling good about that?
No, but I think I feel good about Andrews and Likely are better than Knox and Kincaid. I think Bateman can certainly play Shakir to a draw. Henry is certainly better than Cook. Justice Hill is better than Ty Johnson as a pass catching back. Now the Bills' offensive line is very good. Some of the best offensive line play in the NFL. I mean, they were just dominating the Denver Broncos. But to be frank, I think Lamar is probably a smidgen better than Josh. Probably, I don't know, 3% better than Josh. And those are the kinds of things that can determine a playoff game.
So I have the two takes on the game. I think if the Ravens win, it's going to be a blowout. And they absolutely just mollywop them, going through a lot like the first game that we saw in week 4. Although much of the Bills' defense is back now in that game where they did not play in week 4 and just couldn't contain Henry at all. And I think you'll see Lamar get going early, running the ball. And I think the Bills need to do the same thing with Josh Allen. They need to establish Josh as a runner, which they so rarely do early in games. They wait till the game goes on and they start needing him to do it. That if they start that way, they might be able to get off to a faster start. If they don't get off to a fast start, they could be cooked here. But I do think that if it's a close game, whoever has the chance at the field goal at the end is going to miss it and the other team is going to win. Because that was the big thing with Tucker all year. Remember we talked about replacing Tucker and then we haven't heard about that in like 7 weeks. This is when it comes back.
Right. No, that is a great take. The thing I was going to say is I think a Ravens blowout is so much more likely than a Bills blowout. And that if it's a close game, you would maybe even favor the Bills because the Bills have been so dominant in short yardage. Like a close game, it's weird because obviously Henry is better than Cook, but the Bills run blocking, there's the way their offensive line has been playing. The third tackle, Alec Anderson, played like 40% of their offensive snaps last week. They're just like steamrolling these teams, which is the Ravens' offensive line certainly is worse. And I don't know, that could definitely be a determining factor here. And
just the way that the Bills somehow figured out in the second half of the season that on 4th and 2, 4th and 1, 4th and inches, like, we have this Josh Allen guy. What if we just sneak him and it's going to work every single time, except for the one time against the Rams that it didn't work when they really shouldn't have done it. And then they got it on the next time through, but just they kept the clock rolling and then they had no chance of coming back. But it's a play that they just never ran ever. And they were like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. Let's do that. And it always works.
I mean, same thing. Kansas City doesn't do sneaks either.
Well, it's because Mahomes got hurt that one time. They're like, never again.
Yeah. Which is obviously like, you don't like the question, Andy Reid, but I mean, they should at least do what the Ravens do and have Travis Kelce or Noah Gray do it instead of having Mahomes do it.
If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, does Kelce retire on the field?
I don't know about on the field. I feel like he is heading in that direction, but he also just like really likes to play football. I don't know. I could totally see Kelce being one of those guys, kind of like hey, do you remember when Jason Witten went to the Raiders and then retired and then came back and played again? Like he just doesn't really know when to hang it up.
Well, he also went to, you're missing the point of he went to the Monday Night Football booth, got exiled from there, and then came back. Yeah. I mean, obviously Kelce will have like loads and loads of media opportunities. He'll get to be in movies. I don't know. They might even do like feels like a reality show about him, and Taylor Swift would do numbers and make them quite a bit of money. But I feel like particularly because he gets to play with Mahomes, wouldn't that just be kind of a hard spot to retire and be like, oh, I retired and then my team won the Super Bowl again and I missed out on it and I could have contributed? That's got to be a hard spot to deal with. He'd retire with what, 4 Super Bowls if they win now?
5, right?
4. No, this would be the 4th for the Chiefs, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's good.
Yes.
That's good enough with all the records.
I don't know. I mean, that's it's the disease of more, These guys, they very rarely have said, okay, that's good. Like, dude, Brady played until Brady was done like twice.
We all have to stop comparing anyone to Tom Brady. It's just it's not logical. We did this with Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers this year. It's like, well, Brady played till 45. Everyone's not Tom Brady.
I mean, Kelsey is probably the best receiving tight end ever. Gronk is certainly the best tight end of all time, but Kelsey is probably the best receiving tight end ever. I don't know, man. I think it's hard to hang it up when you're that good, when you are a true one of one historical great.
I tend to agree, but do you think that you get to the point where you just don't? It's not even that you don't got it anymore. Do you want to get to the point where you have to find out on the field you don't got it anymore? Because Brady never actually did that. Even in his last year, he was still pretty good.
Yeah, I think we saw that with Rodgers and with Cousins, right? It's really brutal. Although, guys like Larry Fitzgerald kind of Larry Fitzgerald hung on way too long. I don't know. If you made me set a line, I'd say they win the Super Bowl. It is minus 115 that he retires. That's where I'd set the line.
All right, so more likely than not, or a coin flip.
Yeah. A slightly weighted coin flip, I think.
Yeah, so like if you were betting coin flips at a sports book.
Yes, exactly. If you were betting, yes, exactly that.
I'm looking at the cool bet odds right now. Do you know who the favorite is to be the Cowboys' next head coach?
Dion?
Dion's second at 2-1. He's tied with Kellen Moore at 2-1.
Is Jason Witten favored?
Jason Witten plus 125.
Well, I mean, if Jerry did that, it's like abandoning the Cowboys fandom. One of the smartest things I've ever done in my life. Got to be one of the sharpest foresight decisions I've ever had. Just realizing that they were completely incapable of being a serious organization as long as Jerry was alive. So bad.
I am so rooting for Dion to be their coach. I don't think it works, but I'm wrong about everything. I just want the entertainment factor of Dion needs to be the Jets head coach or Dallas's head coach. That's it.
Well, the thing I want the most is I actually want him to coach his son. I think that would just be very cool. It's just like, if you just are honest about what sports are, which is that you just are honest that they're entertainment. It's reality TV for dudes. It's Real Housewives for dudes. Dion coaching his son, amazing, incredible. Sign me up for that. Sign me up for 17 weeks of that.
Well, we still have wide open best ball drafts for the rest of the playoffs. So this round, next round, the Super Bowl on Underdog. So use code Mayo right now to go sign up and get those bonus funds. Draft with your bonus funds. I got the big mitten returns. Big mitt, $100 to play, 1,080 entrants, 20 grand to first place. I'm going to enter this right now, and hopefully it fills up in time. We got what? And listen, if you're watching out there live in the chat, we need how many more people? Oh, it's only 4 teams?
2.
We need 2 more.
Yeah, they changed the returns drafts this year from 6 teams to 4. Just some like pretty interesting strategy wrinkles. It's just more of a dupe game. Although in this, how big is the final? Can you click the little information button and tell me how big the final is?
Information. The final is
45 seat final is pretty big.
Is it?
Yeah, that is. You're looking at in this contest, you're still like, let's say we get the perfect Bills-Eagles correlation, everything we need. We're still looking at a pretty good chance of a dupe in a 45-person final.
All right. Well, what do we want to see from, like, just to talk this out a little bit strategy-wise? Do we want to pick 2 teams and ride with that and hopefully we get it? We're waiting for one more person to join this. Smash the like if you're watching on YouTube. Share this around if you are watching on X right now, streaming it live. We still didn't get on Rumble yet. I still haven't figured that out.
I'm ready. I'm ready on Rumble. I got my account verified. I punched in my stream key. So we'll be live on Rumble. We'll be doing alt-right fantasy football here on Rumble pretty soon.
Well, we did that on the Thanksgiving show. We gave out Jeff's alt-right lines where he just took giant spreads. It was great. Lost. We got the first pick.
What? Okay, that's nice. Who do you think is more likely to go to the Super Bowl? The Detroit Lions, the Baltimore Ravens, or the Philadelphia Eagles?
Why don't I just take Patrick Mahomes?
No, you want to wait on quarterback. in these. You want to push quarterback as much as possible in the 4-mans.
But they're going ADP 1, 2, 3, and 4.
The ADP is fake.
That's fake news ADP?
Well, it's just so they ported over. I think this is what they did. I don't have this 100% confirmed. They ported over the code from the 4-man BRs from the they call them primetime paloozas, which don't have ADP. So this ADP has been the same since they launched these contests on Tuesdays with no changes. It's basically rankings, but they're fake rankings. You know, it's like Hayden Winks did these in 10 minutes or whatever. So this is not, the drafts don't go as corresponded to the ADP.
We're on the clock. Do we want to take Barkley?
I think Barkley. Yeah, you are. It's a little bit tougher to get AJ Brown when it comes back around to us.
That's
but
all right. We'll take Craig Calcaterra. He'll be fine.
Well, that's the other thing is, so the Eagles are one of the teams that's very hard to dedupe. It's the AFC sides that you like more because the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs all have, wide receiver 5s who play and who occasionally get the ball. Like Juju Smith-Schuster in the next 3 weeks is going to get 6 targets maybe, and Calcaterra will maybe get 1, maybe,
Yeah, I mean, Mac Hollins is the best pick ever for this.
Mac Hollins, Curtis Samuel, Dawson Knox, Ty Johnson.
Yes, I mean, if we can get Bills, we don't have Josh Allen. So
check. Can you click the board for me so that I can see?
It went Barkley, Allen, Gibbs, Jackson, Derrick Henry.
Okay, so these guys are not playing super optimally. So that is important to know.
So Amon-Ra goes off. So there's 1 pick before us, and we have back-to-back picks. We already have Barkley. Do we take Hurts if he's there?
We want to take AJ Brown.
Okay, we can get AJ Brown. It's our pick. We have AJ Brown. Do we want to take Hurts and just jam Eagles?
Is James Cook went?
Yeah, 1 pick before us.
Yeah, this room is acting screwy. We probably shouldn't take Jalen Hurts.
Can we take Mahomes?
Probably take. Yeah, I mean, you could take either one of them. You can take either one of them. I think probably the mathematically correct thing to do would be to take Devonta and push it.
No,
but
we're taking Mahomes.
I don't know.
We're taking Mahomes. We need some AFC guys. We need some AFC guys.
Yeah. And then we should be able to get. We'll be able to get Pacheco. We'll be able to get Worthy. We probably won't be able to get Kelsey.
Well, I wonder if we get. I mean, Kelsey's
maybe.
Whatever. Maybe we get Noah Gray. Who cares? And we could probably get Devonta Smith as part of this as well. So is our goal just to load up, try to go 5-5 with one unique guy on each team? If we can do that now with Chiefs and Eagles. Which is great for my...
Basically, that's it.
So which is great for my... I mean, I gave them out on the show at the very beginning of the year on the wins total show. I have both combinations of Chiefs over Eagles and Eagles over Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So that's obviously not going to happen, which is a problem for this team.
That isn't... I mean, look, we could always get the Eagles don't make it, but we get the right 5 Chiefs guys. That is certainly possible. So this next pick, if we get Kelsey and Worthy, then they're the easy taps, I think, for sure.
So Kelsey's the next guy up in ADP, and there's 1 pick to go before us because Hurts and Devonta Smith just came off the board in the 4th round. Then Jared Goff went. It went David Montgomery. So we'll just go Kelsey and Worthy.
Kelsey and Worthy. There we go.
Is there anything to not taking Worthy and try to use Hopkins instead? And that will be our uniqueness that we don't have Worthy, or just take Worthy?
Well, we'll probably take Hopkins too.
Yeah, but I mean,
because we have 3 weeks to use them theoretically, and if Hopkins outscores Worthy once, then we've already accomplished that. But the thing is, when you're doing the Eagles with the AFC team, the Eagles really only have 4 guys who score fantasy points. You've got the 2 wide receivers, Barkley, Hurts, and you could count Goddard as half.
So we need to get Goddard here with the next pick.
Correct. Yeah, we need Goddard. And then
Pacheco?
Yes. And then we can start thinking about, okay, what do we want to use as our dedupers? Do we want Johnny Wilson?
I'm going to say,
do we want Jahan Dotson?
Dotson caught a pass for the first time all season.
He did. He did catch a pass for the first time all season, which is, nice for him. I mean, we probably might even want Samaj P. Ryan on this team, actually, because this is pretty chalky.
We'll see. Maybe we end up going with Juju. Maybe we go double tight end with Noah Gray to try to figure it out that way. But just taking a look at how this is all shaking down, if you wanted to use, like, if you wanted to fade the Eagles, and I love the Eagles this week, if you like the Rams and think they have a shot to go to the Super Bowl, they are so cheap in this.
Yeah, I mean, basically no one drafts the underdog teams, like the as in money line underdogs in these contests. No one drafts the Rams. No one really drafts the Commanders.
We just
No
lost.
one drafts the Texans.
We just lost Pacheco and Hopkins.
Yeah, so someone else must be doing Chiefs then. So we need to take Goddard, and then we need to take Kareem Hunt.
So you like Kareem Hunt
our-
better than P. Ryan?
Well, no, but I like him more for raw points. So actually, we should just take Hollywood.
Take Hollywood? You like
And then
you like Hollywood or Juju or Gray or Noah Gray?
So we got 3 more picks. One of them will be a weird Eagle, and then we'll take 2 more weird Chiefs.
So Hollywood?
So, yeah. And then we can take whichever one of Hunt or P. Ryan is there next, because this team is dead without Barkley's points anyway.
Yeah, without 5 and 5. So let's try to brainstorm this. So I'll put Hunt on the list, queue him up, and
I'll tell you the absolute sneakiest.
Gainwell?
If you want to get an unduped chance at first in these,
Hardman?
Hardman.
Yeah,
he's not getting drafted. He's coming off the IR. He will be the kick/punt returner. People forget he did literally score the overtime game-winning Super Bowl touchdown last season.
Now, do you think he gets any run because Hollywood's back?
He'll get, he'll if he does, so he probably won't. But if he does get any run, it will be like gadget shit. It'll be like end arounds and stuff. Like it's the only thing he did all year.
So we have Goddard.
He basically came in when Worthy was off.
Goddard, AJ Brown, and Barkley right now. So we need 2 more Eagles to round this out. I have Gainwell put up there. I think that he is probably the most likely to score of all these guys. Like, would you rather go Dotson or Calcaterra? And we lost Kareem Hunt, so we need P. Ryan.
Yeah, so we got to take P. Ryan.
Okay, so P. Ryan to fill out the running back spot, and now we have Hardman, Gainwell, or random other Chief.
No, we take Gainwell, and then we just take whatever Chief we want at the end.
No, we have to take I believe we have to take an Eagle.
Goddard. No, you don't have to, because we're just playing for a Philadelphia Kansas City Super Bowl. Like this team is dead if Philadelphia and Kansas City don't make the Super Bowl. So it doesn't matter where the other scoring piece is coming from. Like we don't.
Okay, so that leaves us with Juju as an option. Oh boy,
Noah Gray,
Justin Watson.
Watson, I like. Watson, I'm taking in these as well. I mean, I'm taking all these dust balls.
Yeah, so we'll round it out to maybe if there's anyone in the chat who, let's see, Justin, who's a Kansas City guy, says, I think the Chiefs are going to greatly condense their personnel groupings now that they're in the playoffs and the dudes are healthy. I feel like they do.
No chance.
No chance.
Well, Hollywood will play a little bit more than he was in the regular season, but particularly the backfield rotation will stay. Kelsey was already playing 90% of the snaps. Worthy was already playing 90% of the snaps. And outside of that, no one on the team deserves to be playing that much more.
So you just need to find out who's catching a touchdown here and who is more likely between Hardman, Juju, Watson, and Gray. I feel like
who is the lowest?
It's Watson.
It's Watson. Yeah. Like who is the lowest owned guy who can score?
And they'll do their once every 5 games shot down the field with Watson. He'll just ran. Like it was funny how often he was out there for a guy who didn't catch any passes. All right. So, Watson will be our team in this $100 gauntlet. Code Mayo at Underdog if you want to get in. There's a dead team already. It's our team. Unless it really.
It's our team.
There we go. So we'll make Justin Watson the very last pick. Oh no, Justin, did he already go? Why isn't it letting me draft him? It's not.
You're the final pick in the draft.
Yeah,
I think. So just start. Sometimes it wigs out when you're the final pick like this.
Yeah, all right. He's the only guy I have starred left up in the queue, so I assume it's going to let us take Justin Watson.
So what you did is you clicked it, and then the system recognized it. But I don't know why this happens. But when you are the last pick in the draft, it glitches out like that.
No, I so very rarely get the first pick that I end up with the last pick in the draft. So Justin Watson to our team. So we have Mahomes with Barkley, Pirine, and Gainwell at running back. A.J. Brown, Kelsey, Worthy, Goddard, Hollywood Brown, and now Justin Watson to throw on to the end of the list. And hopefully he can score 13 points for us in the Super Bowl, and that's good enough.
That's a good bullet right there. You did yourself proud.
See, I feel very good about that. Now I need your help to help me build. I'm only going to play one DraftKings lineup this week.
Okay.
So where am I going with this DraftKings lineup? Where do you want to start with for the 4-game slate?
4-game slate. I think you start with Jahmyr Gibbs.
Really?
I think he's the guy. 32.5 point team total. His ownership will be decreased a little bit because Montgomery's back.
And you just think that this is all Gibbs all the time? We're not going to get one of those, hey, David Montgomery, 3 touches from the 1-yard line for 3 touchdowns.
I mean, I think he will probably get 12 rushes, and he might even score. But Barkley, and I mean, it's basically every other game sucks for offense. It's snowy, it's windy, it's wet for all these other guys. 32.5 point team total for the Lions. That is a full touchdown better than every other team on the slate. If I was only playing one team, I would want Gibbs on it.
Would you want Jaden or Goff?
I honestly don't think it matters. I think Jaden is maybe slightly
you know what?
better.
I think that it will end up mattering between those two. Which one is better?
I would take Jaden. Yeah.
All right. I think that's the way the default of where it's going to go. The optimal from Run the Sims just spit out Jaden with Gibbs and Barkley in the backfield, Puka, Shakir, and your boy Tylan Wallace, Kelsey and Laporta in the flex, and Houston D. That was the optimal lineup using all of $50K of salary.
Yeah. I would not play Tylan Wallace.
How come?
But he was actually like behind Anthony Miller in the first half last week. Yes, Anthony Miller returning to our lives, which
Tony
I thought
Miller
was I was really taken by that. I did not consider that possibility for a second, but it did in fact happen. 58% of the routes only for Wallace last week.
So I'm going to differentiate my team. I want to play Josh Allen at quarterback. I think every touchdown funnels through Josh Allen on Buffalo. And I think that
okay.
He has shown himself that he can score in bad conditions.
Oh, for sure. Do you want to stack him?
Not especially, no. Like I could see, honestly, Mac Hollins is who I would use, or Dawson Knox.
I was gonna say Kincaid, but yeah, I think he's maybe even better stackable.
And Knox is only 2,700, so this allows us to kind of overload. Who is the sneaky running back? Because everyone's going to try to jam in Barkley, Henry, Gibbs, 2 of those 3, or find a way to get all of those 3. Is there anyone from down the list that you like? Because I kind of like Pacheco against Houston.
The best sneaky one is Justice Hill. Justice Hill is definitely the best sneaky one, but I like the Pacheco theory because either he's a terrible play if his role is what it was before. I mean, if it's just his role is what it is, but he's got 21 days off. If he's better, if he's good, if he's getting 18 rushes against Houston, yeah, he's probably the best play of the slate.
Yeah, like his underdog reception total right now is 1.5, and it's juiced to the over.
I was going to say I would take the under.
I would take the over. Like when he was healthy, they threw to him like 5 times a game.
Yes, but basically, like, I don't even know if he knows how healthy he is.
Yeah, but the bet is that after 3 weeks of being off, that he is now actually healthy. That's the bet you're making here.
He has that same injury that like made Tony Pollard turn into the worst running back in the NFL, and that he had the same surgery, which just makes, because Tony Pollard is so good, that it just makes me feel very reticent that Isaiah Pacheco can heal from it.
Do you think that Mixon plays?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on. He's not missing a playoff game.
I still like the Dare over receiving total.
Oh, that is one of the first sharp bets I've ever heard on this program.
There we go.
That's really
instant
good.
loser.
Yeah.
Instant loser.
Yeah.
0. He won't see a
loser.
snap.
Yeah. Well, it's just like I think the Texans are. I mean, it's like I still can't even believe they won last week with how bad Stroud looked. I think they're like basically immediately down 10 points in this game. And Dare plays all the 2-minute drill, all the long down and distance. So I do like it.
Yeah, and then we have to figure out I would rather use just Josh Allen, Knox, and stack up some of the Ravens side and some of their weirdo pass catchers. But many people in the chat right now, including our good friend Sia Najad, saying Eckler is the sneaky QB if Washington falls behind.
That's the thing, is he's not sneaky because everyone knows, like, everyone was on his receiving overs last week. It's the only game that's in a dome. Everyone is touting Eckler as the sneaky piece. So I think he ends up being one of the most over-owned plays of the slate, probably.
Okay, so we'll do Josh Allen with Knox. Who do we want to run back on the Raven side? Do we just say Derrick Henry, or do we say no Derrick Henry? We'll use Gibbs and Barkley or Kyron, and then go with like Likely and Rashad Bateman or something.
Yeah, I'm unlikely. He basically in the first half just played the Zay Flowers role. He led the team in the first half, like when that game was still competitive, in targets per route run. He got a big bump in non-blocking snaps, which I think is a lot of signal there. In fact, he led the team total in targets per route run last week, and 73% of the routes is a pretty big bump for him.
Is anyone going to click on the little plus sign next to Cooper Kupp's name this week?
Not a soul.
Not me.
Not a soul.
I'm not. I don't have the guts.
I will play him some in the showdown for that, just because I would like last week I played him in for the showdown because it was I think Puka was 30% owned in the showdown in captain, and Kupp was like 2%, and I felt pretty stupid about that.
Okay, so we've got 3 guys in so far. We got Allen, Knox, and Likely. Like, is Barkley an auto play after rushing for over 250 yards against the Rams last time?
I mean, probably in the context of this lineup, because you don't want Cook. We've already gotten pretty thin. Like we played Knox. We could basically just play chalk the rest of the way now.
Yeah, Knox and Likely, so double tight end. What defense do you want to play? Like, just put Chiefs in there and hopefully they score that way?
Yeah, Chiefs.
So we're paying up at defense.
Chiefs are Eagles.
So we have 3 wide receiver spots left, 5,500 left per. Is there a cheap wide receiver you like? And is it Diami Brown?
No, it's Zacchaeus, because Brown smashed last week.
Yeah, but Brown plays. Brown plays when he's healthy over Zacchaeus.
I mean, Zacchaeus ran more routes last week, 63% of the routes to 58% of the routes.
I think what I'd rather do is use Mac Hollins for $3,500 and just get another loser cheap bill in there to go with Josh Allen and waste our salary that way. And then we can pay up. We can get like McLaurin, and we could almost get AJ. If we drop to Eagles D, we could get AJ Brown. But we could go like Jameson Williams. We could go like
Hollywood. Hollywood is the cheap wide receiver.
Hollywood? Really?
Yeah, he's 4,200.
Yeah, then that leaves us with like Devonta Smith instead of having Terry McLaurin and Jameson Williams.
I like Devonta Smith.
Do you?
Yeah, if we think the Eagles passing game is going to be used at all, then I mean, for their salaries, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are roughly the same. I think value proposition.
We have $700 to play with here if we want to do that. So we could use Jameson. Could we build a lineup that has no Washington players? That seems insane.
Yeah, why not? They just get blown out. We've seen the Lions do that twice against the Titans and who was the other team? They just kicked the shit out of.
Probably some team in the AFC South.
Yeah,
the
probably.
Jags.
But they did it. They did it twice where they scored 6 or more touchdowns and did not allow the other team over 20 points.
I just feel like Washington has too much firepower for that. What if we throw in St. Brown?
They probably do.
If we throw in St. Brown, we can go Devonta Smith. And then we have no Washington guys.
Sold.
We could figure out a way to get Zacchaeus in, but I don't care. Let's not do that. The lineup is single entry for me. Allen, Barkley, Gibbs, Mac Hollins, and Dawson Knox to go with Allen. We have and Likely as our only Raven in the flex, Devonta Smith and Amon-Ra with Chiefs D.
Sounds like a winner to me, man.
It does not. It does not sound like a winner, that's good news,
doesn't,
though.
But yeah. You got to be playing some weird, gross. I mean, the thing this week is just all about the combinatorial stuff. Like Olamide Zacchaeus and Diami Brown are going to be like twice as likely to appear in an Amon-Ra St. Brown lineup as Isaiah Likely or Hollywood Brown. That's just the way people play.
I gave out an underdog play with Rob and Cam on the Best Bet show. Excuse me. I'm still getting over the cold I've had all week. But I liked Pacheco over 1.5 receptions. Rob liked Diami Brown over 32.5 yards, which he just thought was super low, which I agree with. I kind of like this Dare over receiving yards, but I haven't found it yet. Is the problem.
I mean, they might not
They don't have anything.
have it yet.
Because of the Mixon news, they don't have it. But if it's in the single
don't have it.
digits, I like the over.
I'll tell you the easiest
Let's do it.
play you'll make
Is
this
it
week.
is it using code Mayo and getting the free pick, which can't lose? Because that's a good one.
That is a good pick, but Mahomes over 4.5 rushing attempts, and it's shaded a bit to the over 1.06x on Underdog. He
Really?
averages more rushing attempts than that in the playoffs anyway, but also kneel downs count as a rush.
I feel like people factor in the kneel downs way too much. They don't happen as much as people think.
Well, no, of course, because quite often the losing team has the incentive to have the ball at the end. They're calling timeouts. They're actively trying to get the ball back at the end. But I mean, I would maybe even bet this. An Underdog probably won't offer this, but if they did, I would maybe even take it for the first half. I mean, if you just look at any game in Mahomes' career where things have been tight at all, or he's been forced into trying more than he intended to, he is run. It's just the nature of the way he plays the position.
And you get him with the team with the best pass rush in the AFC as well. That might force him out to run a little bit more. So I like that
true
one
too.
So maybe by the end of the show, once we do like the super, like after we talk to Dubs, who's on the line right now, we'll get to him in a second. Talk PGA, maybe come up with a PGA pick, maybe get a UFC pick from John, throw on Mahomes higher than 4.5 rushing attempts. We'll see if the Dare one is out yet. And then I still love Lamar first quarter rushing yards over 8.5. I think that's a lock is strong. I think it's a good play. It basically hits every week. It's like the Alec Pierce longest reception, which also hits every week.
I've not thought of that angle. I think I'm going to use that one, Pat.
Used it last week for great success. Unfortunately, the other Baltimore plays were just absolute dog shit. Are you going live here in like 15 minutes too?
Yes, yeah, I'll be live. I'll be live on my channel, making some picks, talking these games, doing all the good stuff. Time waits for no man. The content mill demands us.
So Davis Mattek on YouTube, you can check him out there. Stream the rest of this live, smash the like, retweet it around, all that fun stuff. And when it's over, if you need more content where Davis just regurgitates, what's a great pick? Lamar, first quarter rushing. Not attributed to
I'm
Pat
giving
Mayo.
that out. No, I will attribute it to you. I'll tell everyone you gave it out, and I'll say this is the Pat Mayo Gold Star lock. He said if it doesn't hit, he'll send you a Canadian toonie.
My son is collecting Canadian toonies, so I got a lot. It's probably not worth the stamp that I would have to send it internationally at this point with the exchange rate, but I'm not going to commit to that.
Don't commit to it, but I am going to tell people that if it doesn't hit, you owe them all a toonie.
All right. Davis Mattek at Davis Mattek on Twitter as well. Let's switch to PGA because we got a lot to talk about following round one of the American Express. Dubs Anderson on the line. Dubs, you got a big shout out from Cam Stewart on the Best Bet show yesterday. I think he's muted. Dubs, can you hear me?
He must have his thing muted.
Yeah, I think you're on mute.
I think he doesn't have his audio turned on his computer. Like if Davis was able to hear,
he should be able to hear. So we're going to try to run through this. I'll send him a message on here, or you guys can send him a message from behind there. I'm going to give out my Underdog PGA play for today at the American Express. One of the things that I looked at was when you took a look at the course rotations yesterday, you saw that La Quinta and the Nicklaus course both had around like a 68 average, which is -4, whereas the Stadium course, SC, was slightly over par, which is not usual for this tournament. Now, they did do renovations to the Stadium course, but to see it play at even par, slightly over, was kind of jarring until you looked at who actually played at the Stadium course on Thursday. It was all the just complete jabronis, minus like Nick Taylor and Jackson Suter, who by all accounts is a complete jabroni in this field. Those guys shot 7 under. The other guys were just wildly over par, but they put the worst players in the field by and large at the stadium course on Thursday. So they're not on TV by the time the broadcast window comes around on Saturday. So you're seeing all the guys that played at the Nicklaus tournament course yesterday play at the stadium course today, which features like Brian Harmon and Cameron Young and JT Poston, who's currently leading the American Express. You just get a better quality of overall player. So while I do think that that course is playing a little bit harder than the other two, as it normally does, I think where the better players are now going, especially ones with great Pete Dye success over the years, that's actually opened up an opportunity for us on Underdog. So use code Mayo, you can get yourself a free pick to add on to this. But I played JT Poston lower than 70 strokes, so he needs to be 3 under or better. Cameron Young, who's also at the stadium course today, 4.5 birdies or better higher. Brian Harmon lower than 70 strokes. Got those 3, and I threw on Nick Taylor. You know, the good vibes of Nick Taylor. Shot 1 last week, 7 under on Thursday. He needs to be 5 under or better at La Quinta today in order to hit those. So I gave that out. You can see the Taylor fade link on Twitter right now. That pays, I don't know, 6.44 to 1 on your money. If you use the 50% profit boost that's in there right now, I really like those plays. Dubs, you're on the line. What's going on?
Mayo, happy Friday, mate. What is happening? I'll tell you what, you've always got to figure out the old 1s and 2s on the mic and speaker, but happy to catch up. Golf season, it is back in full force, and I was excited to catch up with you, Mayo. I feel like it's been a minute. Big fan of yourself, the platform, and everything going on in the golf space, but had my cold brew this morning. Always try to start Friday with a bit of optimism. Suddenly, Dubsy's in the shower. I'm having a meltdown. It's not what you think, Mayo. But we got players with injuries. It's starting to look like the NFL. The TGL, it's a complete miss for me. Live Golf, they're cutting new deals on Fox Sports. And the Amex, I was excited until they teed off here yesterday. But yes, we're still betting on it. Plenty of ways to jump in and have a wager. So happy Friday, mate.
Yeah, well, I don't think you could hear me when I said it, but Cam Stewart was giving you all the props in the world on yesterday's Best Bet show.
He's my guy, the raging redhead. And I always feel like there's a great synergy. My Canadian brothers, us Aussies. I'm obviously based out here on the West Coast in LA, but we're big sports fans. We love the great game of golf. We love having a punt. We love having a bet, and I feel like the year's starting to wind up in full force. So let's have a good time. Let's make that money, and maybe just maybe find a couple of those plus money peaches, Mayo, because your boy, he needs to eat. I need to eat. I'm a little hungry.
Is there any, like I talked about just before you were coming on, that I think targeting the good players at the South or at the stadium course today is the move, because everyone's all, oh, it was so hard yesterday. All of the worst players played it yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is always going to be a great measuring stick in trying to, stack up which players are coming off what golf courses, what do they still have to look forward to. And going into Friday, it's a good angle. Stadium course, notably a lot tougher there through day one. And look, they're going to play it twice. They'll get back out there on Sunday. You threw out another Canadian faithful there. What about Nicky Taylor? I mean, he's put himself right back in the mix, and it's not easy trying to win back-to-back weeks on the PGA Tour. But this guy's got the moxie. He's got the clutch. I always like to use round one and see how they perform. Well, he's absolutely filling up that cut right now. He's playing with house money. I've still seen him there at 12 to 1 as recently as about 20 minutes ago. So I love Nicky Taylor to make a bit of a run. You look at the top of the board, JT Poston. He's not called the Postman because he delivers week in, week out on the PGA Tour. He'll be there or thereabouts. We've seen him at the Shriners. He can get a little streaky. But some of these other names, absolutely placeholders coming off La Quinta and that Nicklaus course. Bunch of easy beats. I think we see a lot of aggression. And what about Big Bad Willie Z? He's been in the weight room, Mayo. He's been doing those deadlifts, those bicep curls. He's put himself at 6 under par. Interested to see the kind of year that Will Zalatoris could put together at 30 to 1. I think he's a great pickup going into round 2.
See, I don't like him here. And I like him next week at the Farmers. I just don't like him at any course where the winning score is going to be 25 under or lower. Just, I don't think he can putt that well.
That's a known thing for Willie Z. I just think with this tournament, Mayo, and we see it with some of the other ones, I guess in some of the quieter weeks, that there's no pressure. I was covering the Amex. I was out there last year. It feels like a Corn Ferry Tour event. And I think for Willie Z, the greens are rolling really quick. They're rolling like the front of a car bumper. All he has to do is put them online. But I just think, for Zalatoris trying to get back into a bit of form, inconsistent last year, to say the least. I don't think there's going to be that expectation early in the season on a tournament that requires a birdie shootout. Usually you need that flat stick. And I guess, I understand why you would have some concern, but I think Willie Zalatoris, he's back bigger, better, and I think that putter could work on a week where there's not a lot of pressure. You see him, in the offseason when he's out there with the boys playing these big money games. There's no issue with the flat stick. It's just a little bit more pressure Thursday through Sunday. Completely changes the dynamic for Will Zalatoris. And I've got a similar angle. The classy players, the high-ranked golfers, in the world rankings, I like to stay away from in these birdie shootouts because it sort of takes away the best golfers and what they're rewarded for, having that consistency week in, week out. And it's more of a bomb and gouge. Who can hit it the furthest? Who can have that hot putter? But I just think Will Zalatoris, he's playing with renewed confidence. I'm going to give him a chance in this spot. You look at the leaderboard, he'd be the classy name for me, and he's still sitting there at a bit of a price. The odds makers are thinking that he's done so, but I think this could be the week that he reminds us that he is a superstar in the sport.
Yeah, for me, looking at him, he's 28-1 right now. Cantlay's still at 4 under. I don't think I'm going to get to Cantlay, but he's 40-1. If someone's just going to turn on the heat, especially at the more difficult course, once that all becomes equalized, I think I'd just rather take the shot on him over Zalatoris in this spot. But I don't know if I want to jump back in live, honestly. I made way too many bets on absolute just schmucks before the week started, 400-1. I was feeling good when Manacero was in second place yesterday, and then he ended up falling back at La Quinta, which was just stupid on his end. But I got Charlie Hoffman in the mix. I got Brian Harmon in the mix. I need Johnny Vegas to have a good day. But I have enough of these guys right now where I think I want to let it play out a little bit more for the rest of the week and see where I'm at least heading into either the weekend or at least into the final round before I make any concrete decisions. So it would be Zalatoris for you at 28-1 if you were going to jump in.
Yeah, I like the look of Willie Z. I thought Cam Davis, the Aussie, he put up a pretty strong round. You can still get him at a monster price, 75-1 plus 7,500. Alex Smalley, his game looks to be in really good shape. Had a really good tournament here this time last year, and I think Nick Taylor still sitting at double digits makes a lot of sense. But you threw out a bunch of names, Mayo. I've got a betting black book that I come into every year playing the PGA Tour. Some names that I just can't go near. Johnny Vegas would certainly be one of them. Brian Harmon, I don't know what I'm going to get, but this is the tournament where it's really tough on the betting side of things. Can you imagine playing 3 different golf courses? You're playing alongside a bunch of bozos shooting 85s, 95s. They're skull and chips. They're fat and bunker shots. They're asking for advice. And then you're trying to win a golf tournament on the PGA Tour. So I think you can throw it all out the window. And it really is the week to go after a couple of flyers. It was probably, a smaller investment for me pre-tournament. I've picked up a bunch coming in here for round 2. I'll probably do the same going into the final round as well. But it's the kind of tournament. Last week, Nick Taylor, he went off, 3-4 shots back on the Sunday, and you could still get him at plus 2,000. So I think it could be a nice live betting one on the Sunday, as we see every year. Once they get to that stadium course for their second round with that final round, it can really beat these boys up. But I was the same. I mean, I'm waiting for Takumi Kanaya to go lights out here today. Matteo Manacero, I was doing a golf hit. I'm like, you got to watch out for the young Italian stallion. He's not young anymore, mate. He's 31 years of age. He made his cut at the Masters. Get this, back in 2010. He must have been about 14 years of age, but still plenty of expectations.
For sure. I bet him this week just only because, hey, you're going to list him at 400-1, 350-1, whatever it is. This is a guy who won last year in Europe. We knew what the ceiling was 15 years ago. It reminded me a lot of Steve Stricker. I pointed that out to Feinberg, where Stricker was a guy, and then he just fell off the face of the earth for 5 years. And then he came back, and he was one of the best players in the world. I don't know if Manacero is going to become one of the best players in the world, but that was the trajectory that he was on early in his career. So he's gone through those struggles, had to go back and win on the Challenge Tour, then on DP. Now he's got his card back. I think he's someone that I want to be invested in this year because I think he's going to get there.
Yeah, and he's got that championship pedigree. He's a winner internationally. He's shown up at the majors and putting a good effort. He's not going to be overawed by the situation. I think that stepping stone for a lot of these guys coming onto the tour, whether it's from the DP World Tour, the Japan Tour, Asian Tour, or even some of the young guys coming up, if they're getting a start, they're ready to win. It's not going to take 2 or 3 seasons of playing, week ins, week outs on a long and testing PGA Tour schedule. They're here to play. They're ready to rock and roll. They're going to win. And that's the advantage to a lot of us, yourself, me, everyone watching here who really knows the golf space, the golf betting inside out, is you can take advantage of some of these monster prices. Obviously, there's a lot of variance, and you're going up against 150 other horses in the race, but they're the kind of bombs where you can find a couple of different positions. If you hit a triple digi, a 400 to 1, sham, wow. Mayo, you're buying us a couple of beers.
I would too. Don't worry about that. I'll probably buy them anyway. But if I have the extra cash flow, we'll be fine. I want to talk to you about this LIV TV deal. They signed the deal with Fox. They're going to be on TV, probably on tape delay, I'm guessing, because I don't think they're going to be like, hey, live at 3 a.m. in America, here's LIV, live from Saudi Arabia or whatever the hell is going on. But LIV has had its most success in Australia. Can you speak anything to that? Because I know you're over here, that sometimes like when you're away from where stuff is going on, you're not completely connected. But is it because of Cam Smith being there? Is it because Greg Norman had such a prominent role in LIV? And obviously he's gone now, which seems to be to the joy of everyone in the world. Like, what do people make of Greg Norman back in Australia now?
He's cavalier. He's a cowboy. He's ruthless. And, growing up as a young fella, I looked up to the Shark, but it was tough. He was always marred by those collapses on a Sunday at the Masters. Now, sure, he went on to have success at the Opens, but I still look at Greg Norman's career as one of the biggest underachievers, given that talent that he had on the golf course. He was a swashbuckler. He brought that athleticism to the sport, but I guess he's seen as the way that he's sort of seen here in the States. He does rub a few people the wrong way. He's got a bit of a chip on the shoulder. He's got a bit of an ego, and I tell you what, it's worked for him. I don't think there'd be many other people who could have gone into the position that Greg went into, trying to get this LIV golf thing off the ground and give it a bit of legs. And he did that. He achieved that. He's a very savvy businessman. He's millionaire, billionaire, gazillionaire, flying that private jet around. And I think, you probably needed someone who was not out to get the PGA Tour, but he sort of was. Like, the Shark always felt like he was done wrongly there by the game of golf, and this was his chance to sort of get back at him. And, going back to the LIV golf and that global appeal it has, that was the first sell. They're going to 9 different countries, 4 different continents. They're going to put, some of these big names, household names in front of different audiences. And that is the attraction. In Australia, we've got an Australasian tour that you and me could qualify for if we shot a 76, which tells you about the standard of golf. We used to get maybe an Adam Scott, a Leishman, a Cam Smith back for the Aussie Open on a good year. Outside of that, no one's going to watch tournament golf. But suddenly you bring LIV golf, you've got Cam Smith, you've got Leash, you've now got John Rahm, Brooksy, Bryson DeChambeau, Kevin Na in the mix as well, and a Bundler Lahiri. Talk about superstar power, and they're having fun. So for, I guess an audience, a country, a city that really hasn't seen a lot of tournament golf and that kind of production, it's absolutely going to be a welcome distraction. The Aussies don't care if it's Rambo playing in LIV golf or the US Open. He's there in their city. They've got a chance to go and, be outside of the ropes, watch this thing close up. Absolutely. That's a massive thumbs up. But how's it going to look, going into 2025? It's big news, partnering up with Fox Sports. What they had with CW was a small fish in a big pond. Fox Sports is going to bring him to the table and finally give them a chance to see if they are, a comparison to the PGA Tour. If this thing can really succeed in a loaded market, how much golf is too much golf? I'm still a skeptic. I'm obviously the top of the show. I'm not a massive fan of, outside the traditional formats. I think TGL's an absolute mess. We'll get to that later. And, for LIV golf, I think they've got to get back to try and, give the golf fans what we want to see. Don't be trying to pull in, from these other sports. So it's a tough one. They've tried to be so different, but I think at the same time, they've really got to get back and trying to honor their core audience. And I think that could be a way in which it works. But same old question: how much golf is too much golf? Are you really going to get away from the PGA Tour to watch this thing when it's on all hours of the day and the schedule's still a little wacky on that side of things?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I kind of want it to be a ratings success in the States because I think it'll push the PGA Tour to have better coverage. And I prefer watching the PGA Tour. I'm more familiar with the courses. I'm more familiar with the players. It's not that I'm unfamiliar with the players, but it is jarring in a lot of senses to see them show up at these courses which you've never seen before. I think that's the really underrated part about the PGA Tour, especially from an American, North American viewing audience, is even when they show up to the American Express and play these 3 jabroni courses, at least I've seen them for the past 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, call me a Karen. Dubs, you're an absolute Karen here, chopping it up with Mayo, but you're used to seeing something in a certain format. You know, if I turn across to LIV Golf, I want to know that the leaders are teeing off last. Maybe I missed the first few holes, but I want to know that they're battling that pressure going through the closing 4-5 holes. And that's how you got to win a golf tournament. You tune in on the final day, you could have a player with his final hole being 140-yard par 3, or you've got Jon Rahm with a 450-yard par 5, and you're trying to watch this thing in real time saying, what's going on? Are we going back and forth? Are we going left? Are we going right? So I think maybe they're going to try and get away with that. I don't mind the 3 days of golf. I love the global appeal. They've got the credibility. They've now got the big names, and the big names are still showing up at the majors and contending. I think that was a big sort of hesitation I had. Are these golfers just getting the bag and they're going to mail it in for the rest of their golf careers? That's not the case. And I guess, you know, we'll see. It's a matter of time for Fox Sports. It's a really good get. It's it's not going to be a rev share. It's a ride still. LIV Golf, they're still going to produce this product just as they have in the first 3 years. I guess this is going to be the 4th official season, if you will. So it's going to look very similar, but they've got a really good chance. You know, as the NFL winds down, you've got MLB coming up, NBA, and they'll put it at some times where it's really not going to conflict with a couple of their mainstays. But it's just the consistency. And you know, I think ultimately they need the golf fans to keep LIV going. It's not about the new fans. It's about the golf fans. If we turn across, we want to know what we're watching, and we want to know what we're betting on Mayo.
And yeah, I mean, the betting aspect of it, they should really lean more into. And I was working with them behind the scenes in order to develop their project, every hole, every player, synchronizing it to your bets. But it doesn't seem like they're going to have that launched off the ground, at least initially, to kick off season 4 of LIV. I'm excited to see what it is. I do think that you hit on something, though, is that part of, I mean, I mentioned the consistency of the courses, just being able to visualize that the best courses the PGA gets. That's one aspect of it. But the fact that you can turn on your TV at the afternoon on Sunday and know that golf is going to be on CBS or NBC, you don't instinctively go to Fox to watch golf. And there are so many 65-year-olds who watch the PGA Tour who just won't tune in to LIV because it's not on NBC or CBS. They wouldn't even think about it. It might be on Fox News all day, but they're not going to Fox Sports to watch LIV.
Yeah, and they certainly, weren't going to the CW to watch, who knows what, Superman, Vampire Diaries, and then stumble across Big Bad Bryson DeChambeau piping 400 down the guts. And Fox Sports have tried this. You know, we saw it back in the last decade. They tried to commit to $1 billion and partner up with the USGA. It really, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze for them. So I think this is going to give them a really good chance. And the great news for LIV is they've worked out all the kinks along the way on the production side, on the viewing side. And I think we're getting closer to something that absolutely would work. And, not to make another comparison to TGL and whatnot, but I think that the most success we've seen from a sports league and trying to differ things up is probably with the English Premier League. We've got the Champions League, we've got the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, and that's 4 different leagues, but it's still the same thing we're watching. It's still soccer. It's still 90 minutes of soccer. You tune in and you watch Arsenal in the FA Cup on Tuesday, you know what you're watching out for. Saturday, early morning Premier League, you know what you're getting and you know what to expect. I think LIV has sort of got to get that mindset going that we've got golf fans coming back to watch our product. Let's make sure they know what they're watching from the jump. Otherwise, we're going to lose them. So I think a couple of tweaks need to be made, but I'm optimistic. I think they've got a really good chance of trying to succeed with this thing. And eventually, if they can try and find a way to work it out with the tour, this would be fantastic. Big prize purses, different cities, a slightly shorter format, which is a bit more exciting, and it really could work. But the lingering feeling for me, Pat, is when we watch these exhibition style golf matches, whether it's the match or 3-on-3 on Tuesday night or live golf, is we expect these golfers to be entertainers. They're individuals. It's not a team sport. And then you put them on air for 2 hours and you're like, why is he not being a funny guy? Well, he spent his whole life on the practice fairway hitting golf balls, and now you expect everyone to be Kevin Kisner. I think it's a different beast for me, and there's too much downtime, even with the speed of play trying to quicken up. The great thing about the tour on Sundays is there's 150 golfers after the cut. We got half of that, but you're going from birdies made, hole outs from the fairway, shank shots out of bunkers, missed tap-ins, 400-yard big pipos down the guts, and that's what we want to see. Boom, 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 sharp, fast-hitting action.
I agree. I don't think the PGA Tour does that well. I actually think that's been the one draw of TGL, at least in the first half hour, because my wife doesn't watch any golf. It's too boring for her. And the PGA product is that way. Although they have 156 dudes on the course at the same time, they would rather watch Patrick Cantlay try to line up a putt for 4 minutes and be like, all right, we're sticking with this. Like, they could be doing quad boxes, double boxes, whatever it might be. Yeah. Shot, speed it up a little bit for people. Because as it turns out, people like to see the shots. That's been the one good thing about TGL, is that you have the shot clock. They're always just hitting the ball until they take an intermission, and then it slows down. It becomes absolutely unwatchable. So I actually think an hour, 90 minutes, probably max an hour for TGL, that it would be just a crisp product. We get in and out, and that's it. You never feel like it overstays its welcome. And because of the 2 blowouts the first 2 weeks, it's really felt that way. But I don't think you need to have the individual portion of TGL in order to make it work. The actual team concept, the 3-on-3 alternate shot into the simulator, that makes more sense. And it's so different than actual golf that there could be a little bit of a draw there, or maybe not. Maybe it's just absolutely not for you, and some people definitely do feel that way. But with LIV, I feel like they actually have the best TV broadcast of anything, because they actually do just show a ton of shots at all times. But like you said, it's hard to put context on those shots because guys are on the same hole, but not on the physical same hole on the course. So you have no sense of how the mapping goes.
Yeah, and I guess, we're creatures of habits, and you've got to give it a chance. And I certainly think it's trending in the right direction. And it's like with anything, shorter, sharper. It's the day and age of digital media, social media. We're lost after 30 seconds. So I really think it appeals to that side of things. And for TGL, the technology is amazing, second to none. What they've done with that setup over there for the SoFi Center, it really is game changing, to say the least. And I think for LIV, they're also going to clue onto the same thing. But mate, this is what bugs me. The boys that in there in the simulator, do they have to wear the suit pants? Do they have to wear the golf shirts? Can they lighten up just a little bit? And the technology, for me, it's world class. It's leading technology, but I don't trust it. I was in the simulator last night. I'm hitting crispy shots out of the center of the screws, and 20, 30 yards, the big cat just flying one long. I'm still hesitant on that side of things. So maybe I'm old school, Mayo. You listen to this rant, everything goes back to just give me 4 days of golf. Let's keep it how it was, but things have to change, and certainly have to in a very competitive sports landscape here in 2025, because there's other sports, there's other heavy hitters coming along, and golf certainly needs to adapt.
First 2 weeks of TGL ratings on ESPN have been really good. It was 900,000 week 1. With Tiger, it was 1 million for week 2. Week 3, it's now a bit old. The concept has been seen. It's no longer, hey, what is this? Let me check it out. And there's no Tiger involved. Would you say over, under 700,000 people watch?
I think we'll get over, because the viewers know what to expect now. And I don't mean to say that not going to be the smartest viewers, but they probably think Tiger Woods is out there every Tuesday night pegging one up on TGL. It's not going to be the case. I don't know who we've got coming up next week for week 3. Maybe we've got Adam Scott representing the city of Boston. This is a team thing. What's going on? Did he have a great weekend in Little Italy and said, hey, put me on the Boston team? They're not playing for the name on the front. There's no name on the back. So I think viewership, I think they get 1 million. Let's give it a big thumbs up there. And, it's a sign of a big partnership from ESPN there to give it the legs.
All right. So last thing I want to ask you as it pertains to LIV. So the first LIV Fox broadcast, do you think it gets more or fewer viewers than TGL?
Oh, no Tiger Woods. No Tiger Woods. Fox Sports. I'll say less than TGL week 2. And I believe the first week for the Fox Sports broadcast, it should be in Miami the week before the Masters. So I think they'll do a really good job in trying to promote this thing. But Tiger Woods, he moves the needle. It's like LeBron out there in the association. He's still the face of this great sport. He will be for a long time. And for LIV, they don't have the big cap, but they've got a great foundation in this new partnership. So won't be week 2 of TGL, but I think the numbers are going to surprise a lot of people. And I think this is a fantastic get, whether it's a get for Fox Sports or for LIV Golf. It's a great partnership, and suddenly it's right in the conversation.
All right, Dubs, tell everyone where they can find you and check out your work.
Yeah, you can see us over on FanDuel TV Monday through Friday, 9 to 12 Pacific, covering the ponies, covering all the sports. I'll be popping up on the sports grid, give them my 2 cents. But appreciate catching up, Mayo. The golf space, the golf world. First week here on the mainland, West Coast, Best Coast. Aloha, see you later. West Coast swing. Let's bring it on. And look, Nick Taylor, well done to the Canadians. Got a win out the doors last week. The Aussies, we'll still pick up a few more. Min Woozy, the chef Woozy, once he heats up, the Aussies, we'll rattle off a couple of wins there as well.
Hey, Min Woo's in contention over in Dubai, so don't sleep on Min Woo going into the weekend in Dubai.
Second best golfer in his family. Big fan of Min Woo, though. Represent. And what about Adam Scott? Maybe Scotty can get it done with the old Boston Commons there for TGL. Let's go. 1-2 punch.
Yeah, he can win his second major, the TGL championship.
Things you'll love to see.
All right, thanks, Dubs. I just want to go over very quickly once again the play for today on Underdog for the PGA. Harman lower 70 strokes. Cameron Young higher 4.5 birdies. JT Poston lower 70 strokes. Nick Taylor lower 68 strokes. I have the Taylor fade link on X. I also threw it into the YouTube chat as well if you're looking for that. If you use that link, you'll unlock code Mayo, get your deposit bonus, and a free pick to throw onto that. Jon Kelly is coming up just after this to talk about UFC 311 and try to hit some more plus money underdogs. Stay tuned. This is the TGL presented by SoFi, golf's newest league, an all-new indoor arena-style golf where high-tech meets higher stakes meets primetime ESPN. Tuesday evening, January 21st, New York takes on Atlanta. The odds are out, and it is a coin flip this time around. A 3-on-3 match play golf league that takes the competition of pro golf and places it inside an arena sports atmosphere. We've already seen New York. They lost in week 1 to the Bay Area, but we still got Xander, Cam Young, Ricky Fowler, Matt Fitzpatrick, this time taking on Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, Lucas Glover, and Billy Horschel on ESPN January 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This is TGL presented by SoFi. Keep up. It's golf. We're back on the Pat Mayo Experience with Jon Kelly, TGL. You can go check that out. So, John, you said that you have a 50% boost on Underdog waiting for us today?
This time, hopefully hit a few winners, and we can boost it up for you 50%, and hopefully get a winner, roll it into, football weekend this weekend, and we'll do it, man. Yeah,
well, I mean, unfortunately, they won't let me make like a super pack of NFL and UFC. That would be the play to go through with all of this, because it doesn't help out my odds a little bit once I start crossing sports, or is that just a myth?
I mean, it depends on the picks that you're putting in there. But yeah, maybe that's something we can discuss. Maybe we can do that in the future for you.
Well, you're fresh off your best bet from last week being a 2-1 winner with Lopez last week. I believe you won by split decision or just decision.
I think it was unanimous, 29-28. But yeah, it was nice to hit a winner. I feel like maybe that's the code. I hadn't heard from you in a while. Give out a winner and boom, I'm right back the next week. So I appreciate you having me on.
All right. So UFC 311 is a pretty good card. At least that's what Paul tells me. Dogger Pass podcast. Every fight, every bet is on Mayo Media Network right now. If you want to go check that out, smash the like if you're just tuning in because you're just here to hear about UFC. But you're not going to hear it from me. What is the bet I need to make this week?
Yeah, I like another underdog. This one's actually the first fight of the night. I like Clayton Carpenter plus 260 against Tagir Ulanbekov. We talked about it in that, that Lopez versus Gadziasulov fight last week, where you kind of get that Russian tax in the market. And I think that's what we're getting here. Ulanbekov is one of the Team Habib guys who have other people obviously fighting for the belt this weekend, and Islam Makhachev in the main event. But Ulanbekov is not at that same level as those other guys. And we've kind of seen that over the course of his career. Early on in the UFC, he was known more as like a boring decision type of fighter, would always be propped up as a sizable favorite, but kind of went to these competitive decisions, like with Bruno Silva back in the day. Like, I could see the fight playing out similarly in that sense. I think Clayton Carpenter does have some attributes that could give a guy like Ulanbekov at least some trouble, enough to make this fight pretty competitive. And you're getting a big number on Carpenter. He's somebody that fought on the Contender Series a couple years back. He's got really sharp leg kicks, powerful hooks as well. And he's pretty nasty on the ground. He holds a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We've seen him show off those grappling chops in his last couple fights. So it's like the market is kind of treating this as Ulanbekov's just going to take him down multiple times and just kind of dominate him on the mat. I don't see that as being the case here. I think Carpenter can scramble with him, maybe even threaten with some submissions of his own. So I like Clayton Carpenter in the plus 260 range. And if you want to get crazy, sprinkle that submission prop at 27-1 is out there right now.
27-1. Now you're talking my language. I already got the bet in at plus 250. And I like this idea of targeting the Russian tax, the tariffs. We'll call them the Dagestani tariffs coming in on the books here, just making them giant sizable favorites. Because I'm not going to lie to you, when I take a look at these fights and I see some guy named Tagir Ulanbekov against Clayton Carpenter, I know what guy I instinctively do not want to take, and that would be Clayton Carpenter. But plus 250, let's ride this out. You've already listen. I can't be down through 2 weeks with you. I hit my 2-1, so I'll be even if this one ends up hitting, or we're just up but 4.5 units and we're good to go on the underdog side. And you'll get a boost up here with the 50% and put that on the main spot on Underdog. So code Mayo on Underdog right now, give you access to that boost once we do it. And it'll get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 and a free pick in the Pick'em game. So that's always something you can take a look at. What are you seeing for Underdog this week for the UFC?
Yeah, I like a couple spots this week. We'll start with Kevin Holland. I like the under 37.5 significant strikes. He's had 21 UFC fights. He's gone under in 15 of those. And I think this matchup specifically kind of plays into the under for Kevin Holland, because I think if he's able to keep this fight on the feet, I think he's pretty likely to finish Renier de Ridder, somebody that doesn't have great striking, that has durability concerns, that really needs to get the fight to the ground. And then on the flip side, that's been Kevin Holland's weakness. He can give up takedowns. When he gets taken down, doesn't usually work back to his feet. You see him, just wrapping up full guard, just kind of laying on his back, doesn't really know what to do at times. So I think you have multiple outs here in that de Ridder, if he does get the takedowns, he's going to negate, a lot of the offense from Kevin Holland here. And on the flip side, if Holland is able to implement his game plan, I think it's really likely he probably hurts de Ridder early and gets the finish. So under 37.5 significant strikes would be the first pick for Kevin Holland.
All right, so we're going to throw that onto the Underdog card. What else we got?
Yeah, next one is the Jamal Hill against Yuri Prohaska. Really popular fight, really exciting matchup between these two guys. Former champion. These guys have been basically competing with the best of the division, fighting for the belt back and forth with them and Alex Pereira. Now they're facing each other. And I just feel like this one is going to end early. I think Yuri Prohaska, super exciting guy, unconventional striker. Everybody loves his personality, but he's also got some concerns in the octagon, mostly due to the defense. I know he's talked about working in this camp about keeping his hands up more, because that's typically something he hadn't done in the past. But he's going to have to prove that to me, because this guy has never shown any semblance of defense in terms of the striking, and he's paid the price multiple times. He's been knocked out 4 times in his career. He's been hurt countless other times in other fights as well. And then on the flip side, Jamal Hill, I don't really trust him either. He's been knocked out a couple times. His footwork's not very good. We've seen him at times outside of when he's in training camp look a little bit ballooned up. He's also dealt with multiple injuries over the last year and a half, including an Achilles, which is one of the worst injuries you could have. He's also recovering from a separate injury as well. Like, I just feel like this one is going to end early. 44.5 significant strikes. I like the under on the Jamal Hill side. I don't think this one even reaches the second round, let alone the third or the judges' scorecards.
So we'll go with the lower on the 44.5 significant strikes for Hill. But what you could do is just drop that finish prop, like the fight time minutes, you drop that down to 5 and just go lower, and you get a real big boost up there then. I mean, that's how like Greedy Pat would play it, but we're letting you make the picks on this one for the boost because I trust you. That's where I would start to get greedy.
I was going to say, if you want to go that way, I mean, we can gamble if you want to. It's totally up to you. Either way, I do think this one ends early, though.
All right, we'll just do the lower on the significant strikes. I like that out too, though, for basically what's going to be even on both sides, that you get the aspect of if it's an early finish, then there is absolutely no time to go over your significant strike total, or maybe the guy just has a bad fight and has a different game plan than anything else that you really think that he's going to do. You get that out of it as well, where, you know, the way that this loses is they stand there, punch each other in the head a whole bunch of times, and no one falls down.
Right. Yeah. And I think you touched on the main thing that I like to do when I target these is try to give yourself multiple outs. You know, we sort of pigeonholed ourselves a little bit with that Jamal Hill one, but for a lot of these, I try and envision ways where even if my prediction of the fight is wrong, I still have an out to actually hit the pick. And that kind of leads into the last one here. I like the Grant Dawson under 44.5 significant strikes. He's typically staying under this number. He's definitely gone over it a handful of times, but he's really a relentless grappler, averages over 3.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. Now he's facing someone in Diego Ferreira, who's an aging veteran, a good scrambler, but his best days are certainly behind him. He kind of seems like he's lost a step despite, you know, pulling off a couple recent upsets. He turns 40 years old on Saturday, so maybe there's a little birthday narrative in play, but I think Grant Dawson, I mentioned giving yourself multiple outs. I think he could potentially just ground Ferreira. I think he could potentially finish Ferreira as well. And then also, I mentioned multiple times he's fought 15 minutes. He's still not gone over that number. So you kind of have multiple ways to get this one. I think Grant Dawson under 44.5 significant strikes is a good look this weekend.
Okay, so that makes our entire underdog card right now. Code Mayo to get in on this, and I'll dump the link into the chat, which has Code Mayo embedded into it. So all I have to do is click the link, and boom, sign up for Underdog, get in. Kevin Holland, lower than 37.5 significant strikes. Jamal Hill, 44.5 significant strikes lower. Grant Dawson, 44.5 significant strikes lower. Those are the 3 UFC plays on Underdog for UFC 311, and you're going to make that a fun boost in the Underdog lobby under MMA with a 50% boost on that?
Absolutely. Just make sure, like you said, the new accounts use that promo code Mayo, or if they're not a newer account, make sure they follow you in the app so they'll be able to see it in the lobby.
How do they follow me in the app if they don't know how to do that?
That's a good question. I actually don't know. So because my screen looks a little bit different, but I'm pretty sure if they just click on your name, I'm pretty sure it's straightforward. There should be a button or a check mark that they can follow you inside the app.
Yeah, so those are the 3 plays, and for the purposes of this show, we're going to do a little bit of a combo meal here. I'm going to throw in Lamar Jackson higher than 9.5 rushing yards in the first quarter, and I'm going to take Davis's can't miss play of the century, which is probably going to lose. Patrick Mahomes higher than 4.5 rushing attempts. That gives us a 21.2x payout. Now, obviously, the 6-1 from the UFC will get boosted up to 9-1 in the lobby by using code Mayo, and you'll get a free pick too if you want to play some more on top of that. But I'm going to put $100 on that to pay $2,100, and I'm going to throw that link into the YouTube chat right now and underneath this video on X. Are you excited for this card, just in general as a fan? Like, is this a return to, because I talked to this, like, I don't produce Paul and Cody's show anymore. Jared does. So I don't get up front of UFC as much as I used to, even as someone who doesn't really watch it, but always did follow along. I'm following along a lot less these days, but it really felt like golf a lot to me, where they just had so many cards that the big ones really felt exciting. And then you're just like, all right, there's this card, then there's this card. This card's no fun. Is this one of the fun cards?
It is, yeah. And you're absolutely spot on. There's definitely, like, there's a card coming up in Australia, I think in February. That's a pay-per-view where it's like, they're kind of just, throwing something together. Whereas this is one where it's like, okay, Dana's trying to let people know UFC is back this year in a big way. Main card is absolutely stacked. Really exciting matchups. What I think should be, a decent amount of finishes as well, which the fans always get excited about. So yeah, this would be one of those cards that are worth watching.
All right, Jon Kelly, pump up your YouTube channel where you break down all of the fights.
Yeah, if you guys are interested, you could check out my YouTube channel at Jon Kelly DFS. Talk fights every single weekend. And yeah, you could follow me on Twitter as well at Jon Kelly DFS. And be sure to check out Underdog Fantasy, where you can play what I think is the best way to get in on the MMA action this weekend.
Oh, we do have a question from the chat before you get out of here. Lefty Shank says, Jon Kelly, and a lot of exclamation points. That's a lot. Absolute stallion of the betting and DFS community for MMA. This guy's just pumping. Is this you? Is this your
I mean, this is not my burner. This is not my burner. I want to get that out there. This is not me, but go on.
Do you like Arman plus 5.5?
I do, actually. That's not one that I bet yet, but I am going to bet Arman on the money line. I'm kind of hoping that the parlay boys come in on fight day. In the past, we've seen on pay-per-view days where they kind of wait until the day of the fights and then they start parlaying all the big favorites. And the reason I'm waiting is because earlier in the week, that line came in about 40, 50 cents. So there's been some movement on the underdog. I think it's pretty sharp because I do think he makes this competitive. So if you do want to target it in the spreads market, the plus 5.5, where he doesn't necessarily need to win, but he might need to win a couple rounds, I think that's a pretty decent look. But I also think the money line has some value as well. It should be a fun, competitive main event.
So once again, if you use code Mayo or follow me, if you can figure out how to do that at Underdog, you can use the UFC Super Boost. That will be the Pat Mayo Experience plays. John's been feeding them to us, and that's 6-1. With that 50% boost, will turn itself into what, 9-1? That's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hit a winner this weekend, Pat.
That would be very nice. And just to throw it out, Paul and Cody have a Patreon now for Dogger Pass. If you go check that out, if you want more, both UFC coverage, but also coverage of the regional scene as well. If you're looking for more MMA content in your life. And if you go to coolbet.ca right now, or coolbet.com if you're in Canada, not in Ontario, there is a Cody Saftik Super Boost up on the site. It is the first 3 legs of his PRP this week, juiced up to plus 450 if you want to check that out as well. Smash a like and sub to the Pat Mayo Experience on Apple, on Spotify, wherever it might be, and on YouTube as well. We're running back these live shows every single Friday. If you have more ideas for more topics we can cover, I am all ears, or guests that you might think might jibe well with me, because we're doing 3 guests every single time. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.